I've been around a long while, seen plenty in my day, but I'll never forget the noise my F-150 made that morning. First came a sharp hiss, then a bone-rattling thud that sent hot coffee flying out of my travel mug and splattering across the old cloth seat I'd been promising myself I'd reupholster for years. The truck jerked sideways, gravel spitting out as it fishtailed before grinding to a stop in a cloud of dust. I climbed out, boots crunching the gravel, only this time that sound felt wrong. I looked down and froze. All 4 tires destroyed, rubber shredded into dangling strips like torn banners after a storm. That's when I spotted them. Heavy-duty spike strips, the kind cops use in highway chases, set across my own farm road. They glinted in the early light like something laid by the devil himself. And 20 feet away, arms crossed and smirk plastered on her face, stood Margaret Sinclair. Around here, everyone whispered her name with the title Karen, though never within earshot. She was president of the Cedar Grove HOA, and her voice cut sharper than the spikes at my feet. "Maybe now," she sneered, "you'll think twice about letting those noisy trucks tear through our peaceful neighborhood. I've owned Willow Creek Farm for 15 years. Moved out here after retiring from my first career, trading hustle for 40 acres of pasture and oak. Back then, this was real country. Quiet roads, open sky, and neighbors who waved as they passed. That changed about 5 years ago when developers rolled in with glossy brochures promising gated serenity. What rose instead was Cedar Grove. 300 near-identical houses crammed side by side with an HOA board that swung its tiny scepter of power like it ruled the county. The feud began over geography and pride. My gravel road, just a quarter-mile stretch leading to the highway, runs along Cedar Grove's edge. It's been there since 1952, with private property signs posted every 100 feet. My deed is ironclad, county survey backs it, and I pay taxes on every inch. But Margaret Sinclair doesn't recognize deeds or property lines when they clash with her vision of suburbia. At first, it was petty. Letters on HOA letterhead trying to look official. Complaints about dust, accusations of commercial traffic. One even claimed delivery trucks were disturbing residents at 6 a.m. Never mind those trucks were hauling feed for livestock or produce bound for the farmer's market. Never mind that farm work begins with the sunrise. Long before Cedar Grove had plumbing, the letters escalated into threats. She insisted the road was a shared easement and the HOA could dictate its use. Demands followed. Pave it, install speed bumps, submit a schedule for vehicles. I stayed patient. Sent back copies of my deed, survey maps, highlighted sections like I was teaching high school civics. Every county complaint she filed, noise, zoning, nuisance, got dismissed. That's when her tactics turned ugly. Delivery drivers started phoning me, rattled. Said a woman in a silver SUV blocked the road, demanded permits, threatened to call the cops. My nephew Jake said she tailed him down the road, honking and flashing lights just because his truck kicked up dust. Even my 70-year-old mother wasn't spared. Margaret confronted her at the gate, shouting about unauthorized visitors. Still, I kept my cool. I even went to one of their community meetings, put on my Sunday best, gray hair combed neat, folder of documents in hand, spoke with the calm that only comes from years lived, explaining the road's history, legal standing, and its necessity for farm work. Margaret, in her tailored blazer and pearls, gripped the gavel like it was a weapon. "Mr. Thompson," she said, drawing my name like it soured her tongue. "Tradition and old papers don't outweigh the needs of our 300 homeowners. That road disrupts our peace and lowers property values." "It's my road," I told her evenly, "and I'll continue to maintain it. I pay for it, and I decide who sets foot on it." Margaret gave me a smug little smile. "We'll see about that." Most of the board nodded along, but I caught it. Neighbors shifting in their seats, glancing down, clearly uneasy. A few slipped over afterward to whisper apologies. They didn't agree with her, but they didn't dare cross her either. Margaret had a reputation for making life miserable for dissenters. Things didn't calm down. She had security cameras installed, all aimed squarely at my road. Floodlights blazed into my pasture at night, turning it into something that looked more like a prison yard than a farm. She even tried to cut off my mail, filing complaints that mail trucks broke HOA traffic rules. That stunt backfired fast. The postmaster threatened to suspend all neighborhood delivery if she interfered again. But Margaret didn't slow down. She doubled down. Petitioned drives to label my road a public nuisance, hiring lawyers to dig through century-old easement laws, even contacting my insurance company with claims I was running an illegal enterprise. None of it stuck. But the constant battles wore me down, stealing time I needed for crops and livestock. Then came that Tuesday in October. I was up before sunrise, waiting on a hay delivery. At 6:30 a.m., I rolled down my road like I'd done 1,000 times. Then, bang! At just 15 mph, the hit nearly sent me through the roof. Any faster, and I could have flipped the truck, and there she was, Margaret, standing smug as if she'd pulled off some masterstroke. But I didn't yell, didn't stomp my feet. I simply pulled out my phone, hit record, and walked toward her. "Margaret," I said, framing her face clearly in the shot. "Did you put these spike strips on my private road?" Her smile twitched. "I don't know what you're talking about. These commercial-grade strips that wrecked my truck on my property. Did you place them?" She faltered. "The HOA has the right to implement traffic calming measures." I called 911. By then, neighbors were pouring out, phones in hand. Word spread like wildfire. When deputies Martinez and Clark rolled up, half the street was watching. Martinez crouched down, whistling. "These are law enforcement grade. Where'd a civilian get these?" Clark questioned Margaret. She tried blustering about HOA authority and community safety. "They didn't buy it." "Ma'am," Martinez said firmly, "this is a crime. Doesn't matter if you're HOA president or Queen of England, you can't lay traps on private property." That's when I remembered. "Deputy, I've got security cameras. Cover this whole road." Margaret's face drained of color. The footage was crystal clear. 2 a.m. Margaret Sinclair in black clothes and gloves, headlights off, toolbox in hand. 20 minutes spent laying and testing those strips like a burglar setting a snare. They cuffed her on the spot. Charges: criminal mischief, reckless endangerment, property destruction, trespassing. She screamed about her rights as they hauled her off. By evening, the video went viral. Local news led with, "HOA president arrested for spike strip sabotage." The criminal case moved quickly. Margaret claimed she was protecting the community. The jury wasn't buying it. Footage from her own HOA cameras showed her stalking my farm, jotting down license plates like some wannabe detective. The jury found her guilty across the board. Then came civil court. My lawyer hit her and the HOA with a lawsuit. Turned out she'd bought the spike strips with HOA funds, calling them safety equipment. Meeting minutes revealed she'd openly discussed her scheme. Board members claimed they thought she was joking. Emergency services testified the strips could have delayed an ambulance or fire truck. The trial lasted 3 days. Margaret's own words did her in, recorded quotes calling me a stubborn redneck who needs to be taught a lesson. The jury deliberated less than 2 hours before returning guilty. The judge handed down the sentence: 2 years in county jail, 3 years probation, and $50,000 in fines. As the bailiff snapped on cuffs, Margaret shrieked, "This isn't fair!" I was protecting the neighborhood. "His trucks are too loud!" She was still raving about property values as they let her out. And me? I went back to work. Crops don't wait. Hay still needed stacking. The road still needed fixing. My road. If you enjoyed watching justice catch up with a power-drunk HOA president, hit that like button. It helps more folks find stories like this. And don't forget to subscribe for more true tales of stubborn neighbors, rural grit, and what happens when people push too far. Out here, we don't back down easy. And I've got plenty more stories to prove it.